up real quick. Ooh. Ooh. Jeez. You know I'm rocking with the bling when the dog comes walking up. You know I'm walking with the bling when the dog comes walking up. You know, I'm not flexing or anything. Just good to have that belt. You know what I'm saying? But we're here with Week 11 shenanigans. The playoff bracket has remained the same for now. Noah and Preston still have to play their Week 10 game, but assuming Noah wins, the bracket will remain. If Noah loses, Chris will then regain his position. Pretty exciting. I think, again, this game is kind of unlocked, and this game's kind of unlocked. The only two seeds really up for grabs is Josh's and Noah's. Josh seems to be pretty secure in his position. Noah faces a little bit more competition because Chase lost against Tabs this week. Josh has a 2-game lead over Chase and Croc. So I think, in my opinion, playoffs is pretty much unlocked. The only thing left up for grab is Noah or Chris here, and I think that'll be pretty exciting. So yeah, with that out of the way, oh shit, I had my team up for Woo there. Did I leak it? I don't think I leaked it. Yeah, I've been on here the whole time, so we're gonna keep going. But yeah, that is that would be the playoff picture, and now it's time to what do I want to do? What kind of music do I want to play here? Here we go. Now that that is out of the way, we can start looking at the actual matchups for Week 11. The doc, surprisingly enough, is not done. Doc is not done, as usual. Go figure. But yeah, we'll just go over it verbally, like we probably will for the rest of the season. Next week I'll be in the Carolinas. Probably won't record any videos. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, even my game against Woo and Noah, because I play Woo. I'll play Woo on Saturday or Sunday, which I'll already be down there, and then next week I'm there the whole week. So for my game against Noah, I'll have to play that away as well. So I'll probably have to do post-coms for those videos when I get home. So yeah. But anyway. Into the actual videos. Me versus Woo. This is a very weird. I say very weird. This is a very not good matchup for Woo. I mean, at a very, I'm not gonna say it verbally just in case. I mean, I expect Woo to know that this is a pretty bad matchup for him, but yeah. I mean, I'll just come out and fucking say it. I guess it's not. I'm not really hiding anything, but you can't really shed tail when there's a Mega Gardevoir firing off Hyper Voices at your team, and when there's a Pokemon that can get the ability Infiltrator. So Cyclozar is probably not coming, unless he has like some evil tech to get around it. We'll see. 'Cause, I mean, at the end of the day, Shed Tail is still broken as shit, so he could always Shed Tail out into like Aegislash on the Hyper Voice. So yeah, there's that. I mean, there's a possibility Cyclozar comes, but it's under a lot of pressure. And yeah, I don't think Woo has a good matchup. I think he has Mons that can put on a lot of pressure into me. Unfortunately for Woo, those Mons do not appreciate rocks, and I have the best hazard setter in the game in Glamora. And if he wants to go, Wo-Chen to absorb them, he needs to Terra first, which means he's still gonna get Toxic. And if he wants to go Beedrill, rocks will already be up, and he's taking 25%. So, Not the greatest matchup for Wu. This probably will be a 2-0, but I can see Wu taking a game off just because things like the B-Drill and Entei put on a lot of pressure on my team, along with some other mods on his team that we'll see if he brings. But yeah, I think it's just a rough matchup for him. But yeah, I'm excited to play that Wussy meta. He's in my div last season, and maybe we'll see the Shuckle. Maybe Shuckle will get his revenge on me after I dropped him in Season 2 after not using him. We'll see. We'll see. Next up, we have the brand new JC versus the Athens Ash Ketchums. So Seismitoad is going to be Covert Cloak. And will be water absorbed to stop Quaquaval. Yeah, how it is. Dual screens, I mean, Curse hasn't brought dual screens once this entire season, but I think this would be a pretty good game for it. JC doesn't have, or his only defogger is Scizor and Pidgeot, which he's not bringing, and that would force like Crook or Quaquaval to bring Brick Break, which Clefty can get off a pretty free Dazzling Gleam against both of them. I would say you can probably bring Electric Terrain to this game just because it has a decent matchup, but Raichu can take advantage of that. Obviously, your Spectre and Lopunny outspeed it, but a Choice Scarf Raichu is a possibility. Booster Valiant's a bit of a threat, but Chris can always Scarf Spectre or try to get Webs up to nullify it. And again, he has like Prankster T-Wave with Klefki. Val's 119 and Salazzle's 117, so never mind, that doesn't really matter. But Salazzle can poison Garg, I believe, with Corrosion. So Curse has a way of chipping down Garg, unless he just wants to click like a Specs fucking Hyper Voice with Prim just to OHKO it. I can see this going to a game 3. I really can. I do believe this could be an Electric Terrain game. Just Scarf Raichu could be an issue, but Curse might Scarf Spectre regardless. I kind of want to give it to Chris. I kind of do. Cause like if he was Terra Ground Crook, I'd like his matchup a little bit more. But being Terra Dark and Fairy, like Fairy doesn't really get you anywhere, so you're probably gonna be Dark. I mean, you might Terra Fairy just so you don't die to Mach Punches from Lopunny. Yeah. I mean, does Curse bring the Zarude? He probably doesn't bring it this game because Sap Sipper Gujar's a thing. But I don't know. I do think the Electric Terrain comes this game though. I do think that happens. Yeah, I'll give it to Chris 2-1. I'll give it to Chris 2-1. I do think he has I think this is pretty 50-50, but I think the Electric Terrain kind of sways me a bit. So yeah. Giving it to Chris. Preston versus Nick. This is a pretty important game for the both of them. Just for like mental sake and finishing out the season a little bit better than how it's been going. Nick is 2-8 and Preston is 1-8. If he loses to Noah, he's 1-9, and then if he beats Noah, 2-8. Yeah. Nick, at the beginning of the season, I said if he can look for 4 wins, I think that's a successful season for him. He's halfway there. There's 4 weeks left. I think it's very doable, or 3 weeks left. 11, 12, 13, 14. It's 4 weeks left. So I think this is very winnable for Nick. He's against someone that has been struggling alongside him. And honestly, like, on paper, you would give the advantage to Preston because Absol into a Psychic team, but the Psychic Terrain is up, of course, which means Alakazam doesn't have to worry about Sucker Punch. But again, the grand issue that everyone faces, and Nick is no exception, he does not have a switch into a Terra Fire Typhlosion in the Sun. He has Milotic, But I don't know how well. I mean, Preston has the Scovillain, which actually doesn't look super terrible here. I think Scovillain, this might be one of the few games Scovillain comes. Conk and Sandy Shocks go absolutely crazy here. And Absol, I think a special attacking Absol, I think a mixed Absol with like close combat and Ice Beam could go good here. That way you can catch Landorus off and you can close combat the Goodra. Because again, Alakazam's the only thing Absol really has to worry about. And if he's not Scarflele, which he's been bringing a decent amount, but if he doesn't bring Scarflele, you can just kind of kill it with a Gunk Shot or an Iron Tail. Yeah, I would give it to Preston here. I would say 2-0 Preston. I do think Nick's been playing well, but again, Preston could do Terra Grass Solar Beam just to absolutely eviscerate the Milotic. Because I don't even think you need to be Terra Fire here. I still think a base Eruption in the Sun will two-shot Goodra. And he can't run the Fire Resist Berry because he's part Dragon. Yeah. And again, like I said earlier, I even think Scovillain's a pretty decent bring here. Even Ninjask, you know, I've been clowning on it all season, but the two Mons I think are pretty bad on Preston's team or Troll. I think they have good matchups. Ninjask can check the Alakazam, and every time Alakazam is in, Nick has to switch, so you just keep clicking U-turn. You literally just keep clicking U-turn. Obviously, you have to worry about Flame Body, Sentence Scorch, and maybe a Rocky Helmet Landorus, but other than that, you just bring out Ninjask, and you click U-turn every time Alakazam is in. Even then, Preston has a Blissey that can literally just sit in front of it. So yeah, I think Preston has a pretty good matchup here. I'll be excited to see how they can adapt, but yeah, I'll give it to Preston 2-0. Next up, Noah versus B. The two broken Mons, Sneasler versus the Urshifu. Oh man, this is crazy. This is tough. This is tough. Because like, if Noah can force a Terra on B early, Sneasler can kind of go in. Obviously, if B's Terra Poison, then Sneasler has a bit of a rougher time. But if he's Terra Dark, Sneasler with Unburden can go in. And bringing Terra Poison in this game is kind of sketchy because there's the Farigiraf, the Latias, and the Ting-Lu. And if you're Terra Dark, you know, I think that would be slightly better, but again, that does leave you susceptible to Sneasler shenanigans. What else? Earthworm, not looking good when there's a Magnezone and an Arcanine on the other team, and I guess Ting-Lu doesn't matter because you have Earth Eater. B has not been bringing Altaria at all, which is kind of crazy. Not that I mean, you can bring Altaria to this game, because if he's not Air Balloon on Mag, Altaria can kind of go in with 1DD. Obviously, again, Sneasler is the biggest issue facing B. The Fake Out Normal Gem to get the Unburden Boost is a bit of an issue. The second Sneasler gets the Unburden Boost late game, I don't think B can win. Let me see. You're 120. You're 121? Okay, so if B gets Webs up and he Scarf Tornadus, he can beat Sneasler, but do you even bring Orbeetle to this game? I guess it's a decent check to Lottie and Farigiraf to an extent. Not the greatest, but it can eat their Psychic hits. God, this is definitely going to a game 3. Even Raikou's matchup here is a little rough because Ting-Lu and Magnezone. He could be AV on Mag. I'll give it to Noah. I'll say 2-1. Just because B's team it's rough. It's rough. I mean, he has Donphan, which is like one of the better checks to Sneasler, but if he's not Covert Cloak, you're getting put to sleep poisoned. And if you are Covert Cloak, you're not recovering off the damage you're taking, and he can always just go into, like, Glastrier, Gourgeist even, Not that I think you bring Gourgeist to an Urshifu Tornadus game, but, you know. Yeah. I'll give it to Noah, but it's probably the sketchiest prediction I have this week so far. Yeah, I'll give it to Noah 2-1. Next up, Chase versus Josh. This is a big game because if Chase can beat Josh, that only puts him one game down under Josh. And then, who else has Josh played for the last couple weeks? Josh plays Tanner, week 12. He plays Noah, and then he plays Sal. So Noah, Josh's end season is very tough. He plays Tanner, who Tanner beat last time. He plays Noah, which they're usually pretty back and forth, and he plays Sal. So this is actually an extremely massively important game for Chase. If Chase beats Josh, I think Chase can sneak a playoff spot. It's nice to see Chase this season. He has Sal, which is a little rough. He plays B, which is also a little bit rough. And then he plays Tanner. So they have like equally difficult schedules, I'll say. But this is the road for Chase. If he can beat Josh here, his playoff dreams are still alive. But if he loses this, it's over. His season's over after this game if he loses. But if he wins, they both have pretty difficult end seasons. So, you know, that can be interesting for sure. But matchup specifics, Enamorous has to come for Dragapult and Great Tusk. It has to. There's really nothing you can do about it. What is Josh's Dracozolt answer? Oh, he has Gastro. Alright, so Gastro is coming. Enamorous is coming. I think Bolton actually goes evil here. So we might see a Savali Ground coming to this game. Maybe a Volt Absorb Lantern of sorts. What else can I see here? Physically defensive Rotom Heat, but Chase can go special and hit it with like a Psychic or something. Yeah, I mean, Josh doesn't really have a V-Crate switch in. And unless Tusk is Scarf, Josh... Yeah, unless Tusk is Scarf, his only two answers to Victini are Dragapult and Bolton. Other than that, Victini goes absolutely insane here. And again, if Gastro is dead, Volbeak is pretty spammable. His Terra Blast Ice, I mean, he has to be Ice this game for the Tusk and Eldegoss. Maybe we see a bit of the Yon Mega action. I mean, if he gets a speed boost off, he outspeeds his whole team. So, I mean, and again, Josh, I mean, obviously Tinkaton can kind of wall Yon Mega, but maybe Chase goes with the Tinted Lens instead of the speed boost, and he's like Scarf Tinted Lens. I do think this is a very close game on matchup. But I think just because Josh has been doing very well, I'll give it to Josh. But I do think this will probably be a game 3-er. I'll say 2-1. I know last season Chase kind of bozed him with my boy Johnny Adams. But I don't know. It's like I want to say Chase will win, but because I really think he has a good shot at playoffs if he wins this. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. It's hard when you have a Dragapult with 51 kills staring you down the throat. He can Terra Fairy so he can U-turn out on your pursuit from T-Tar, you know what I mean? So yeah. I think this will be close, but I'll give it to Josh, 2-1. Next up, another interesting matchup, Biff versus Mnez. They played Week 14 last season, and Biff snuck away with a last-minute win over Mnez right before playoffs. This season, let's see. Biff does not have a switch-in to Scolipede. His only switch-in, I guess he has Runarigus and Weezing. but those can get chipped down pretty easily by like Roserade and Manectric because their special defense stats are not the greatest. I mean, Runerigus is actually not that bad, but Weezing, that's a little bit of a rough one. Let's see. Electrode has a decent matchup here. You 4x resist electric moves from Manectric, and electric grass has a decent coverage here. I wish electric. So does it get hidden power? National Dex? No. Okay, I thought so, but why not? Thought I'd check. Mnez's team is like pretty grounded though, besides Gliscor, and I don't know if you bring Gliscor here just because of Samurott and Chi-Yu. So Ceaseless Edge, I mean, if he's just Choice Scarf, Focus Sash, or Choice Banded Ceaseless Edge, there's not a whole lot Mnez can really do. Honestly, Banded might be best because he's going to want to go into Volcanion to like defog it out. You probably two-shot Volk. Obviously Roserade outspeed Samurott. Does it? Yeah, 85. Okay, so Roserade does outspeed Samurott, but again, you can't really switch into it because of Ceaseless Edge. And then Mnez doesn't have a dark type switch in. That just doesn't exist on his team, so I can see a Bandit, like I said, Bandit, Sash, or Scarf, Samurott. But again, late game, Scolipede just absolutely eviscerates his team. There's literally nothing Biff can do. The only thing he can do is, like, he's got to be some crazy shit. Like, he's got to be, like, Agility Latias again and hope that Mnez, like, doesn't have Protect on Scolipede. That's about it. Or he can, like, Scarf Electrode. Or maybe he gets Webs up just for Scolipede. But Mnez can get the Aurora Veil up. Biff can match the screens with Bronzong or Rabombe or even Sylveon. But his defoggers are Rabombe and Latias, and he hasn't been bringing defog on them, so Aurora Veil is extremely free here. Obviously Biff does have Revive. I don't know. Mnez is taking this 2-0. Just because Scolipede is that big of an issue. Like, Scolipede might walk away with fucking 10 kills again. Like, I'm so serious. Scolipede just destroys this team. Absolutely destroys this team. So yeah, I'm giving it to Mnez 2-0. We'll see though. We'll see. Next up, we have probably game of the week, just based on like how the season's been going in standings. Tanner versus Sal. Two scrim partners finally facing down each other. This playoff implication match. They talked about trolling this set just because they could see each other in semifinals, but I think they're going all out from what I know. So we'll actually get like a glimpse of what we could potentially see in semifinals, which is interesting. I mean, Sal leaked his team to Tanner in a call the other night, but you know, so like Tanner already knows what Sal's bringing for the most part. So that'll be interesting. Matchup wise, I would say Venusaur is pretty hard to kill, but Garchomp can probably two-shot it because you probably have to be especially defensive for Bundle, and Alakazam can deal with it pretty easily. Choice Scarf Darkrai might have to be the bring, but if he's Booster Bundle, you can take care of that. Essentially, if Tanner loses Venusaur, Bundle becomes a big issue, but I guess you do have Slowking and Treads still. Or not Treads, Hands. Hands can pretty much 1v1 anything on Sal's team except for Garchomp. Like, if Melmetal comes in, you just Drain Punch. Alakazam is in, I mean, obviously switch out on that, but even if, like, Florges is in, you can just Heavy Slam. I guess it's fast and you don't really need a Moonblast, but if you make a shiesty prediction, you can Heavy Slam into Florges. But yeah, for like bundle, you definitely eat one Hydro Pump, especially if you're AV, and you just kill it with an Iron Fist, or not Iron Fist. You kill it with a Thunder Punch or Drain Punch. Meowscarada, same thing, and Ursaring is literally just a juice pack for him. Shandy has been kind of AFK since Scissor's been gone. We haven't seen a whole lot of Shandy. And we see it here. Maybe. You definitely, if you bring it, it's definitely grass. But without the scarf, it's definitely a bit of a doesn't have the greatest matchup unless it's scarf. Vikavolt's another one that we haven't really been seeing a whole lot recently. I don't know if you bring it here. Maybe you bring it like specially defensive. Or even defensive just so it can like 1v1 the Meowscarada in bundle. Can eat double Iron Bashes, I guess, because it's a resisted hit. I think this will be close. Probably a game 3 for sure. I'll edge it out to Sal just because he's been having a good season. Obviously, he lost his undefeated streak against MNAS last week, finally. But I think he's very interested to get back on it. I don't think he really wants to go get any more losses. He definitely wanted to keep up with me in the undefeated streak, unfortunately. Couldn't keep up with me, man. But yeah, I think Sal definitely would want to finish out 13-1. So I think if he comes in fully serious, I think he can definitely bring it out. Last game of the week, Croc versus Tabs. This is an extremely important game because all of Croc's games are important because if he wins out, he can make playoffs. Because again, Chase and Josh have extremely difficult seasons to finish off. And if Chase beats Josh, Croc's playoff chances go up a lot. And I'll explain why. I'm pretty sure Croc has already played like all of his like harder games. So let me look at the rest of his season. Plays Tabs, which get into that breakdown a bit. Then he plays Biff, which he beat last time, and he can definitely beat again. Obviously, it was a very close game. Biff had the game won a couple of times, but a couple of plays went differently. Especially that last turn of game 3. Literally, if he just didn't Mega Evolve, he would have won. But I think they both know what they did wrong, so I would expect a similar set to be super close. Where's my boy Croc? Then he plays Preston week 13, which Preston has been having the greatest of seasons. And then he plays MNES last week, which again is super rough. But comparatively to Josh and Chase, his last little stint is easier. So, listen, Croc might have went 0-5, but he's 4-6 now. I would say Croc has a better chance of making playoffs than Chase or Josh, in my opinion. Josh has a fucking hard-ass last little bit, and Croc's really only difficult game left, in my opinion, is MNAS last week, which, if Croc wins the next 3, and he's 7-6, and Josh, let's say Josh loses his next 3, right? Josh loses his next 3, he's 6-7, and if Croc wins his next 3, he's 7-6, which means it would come down to the last week. I mean, listen, I would say Croc's chances of making playoffs are higher than Josh's. That's all I'm gonna say, but we'll see. We'll see. Obviously, you gotta take it week by week, but I'm on the Croc train for sure. I'm on the Croc train. I don't know about y'all, but I'm on that Croc train. So let me get into this matchup. He does not have to switch into Zardwai. That switch in does not exist. He might have to bring like an AV Turtonator, but Zard can always bring Dragon Pulse. Well, I guess you have Gigalith. You can always switch in Gigalith because you're changing the weather, so Solar Beam turns into a 2-turn move instead of 1. So I guess that, yeah, I guess you do have to switch into Zard. But other than that, I mean, Brute has a pretty good matchup here. Easily eats a Fishious Rend and can either Spore it or just straight up kill it with a Seed Bomb. Obviously, Tabs might hold off on the Terra just so he can probably eat a Seed Bomb because he's part Dragon. But then if he doesn't Terra, then he's missing on a lot of damage on other things, which is a bit of an issue. Whimsicott with Tailwind can kind of negate Booster Mischievous or Fluttermane and Sandrosh Dracovish. Booster Wake might actually outspeed Dracovish, and you can just fire off Dracos because Tabs does not have a fairy. Well, I guess he has a fairy type, but Tabs has been notorious at not bringing in Fluttermane unless he absolutely has to. I would say Weavile is like kind of good here, but like Escavalier might come just like kind of 1v1 things, because actually Escavalier is definitely coming because he has Overcoat. So it gives him a way to deal with Spore Brainloom. Obviously Croc has to be worried about the webs, but he does have Defog and 2 Mons. Obviously Gligar's probably not coming because of Weavile, but and Dracovish, but you know, crazier things have been done. And yeah, I mean Tabs has been bringing Masquerain, but I don't know. Webs don't seem too important here, but Tabs typically brings it regardless. Roaring Moon, if Roaring Moon gets off one Dragon Dance, it could be a bit problematic, but if Steelix comes, then not really. Steelix can kind of take care of Roaring Moon because even he can't Terra, so you just body press it and it dies. I'll give it to Croc. Because I'm big on the Croc playoff chances, I'll give it to Croc 2-0. Seems a little disrespectful to Tab, so I'll say 2-1, 2-0, but I do think Croc will come out. Obviously, I'll be rooting for Croc the rest of the season. Obviously, he's on a knife's edge. Because if he loses one game, he can only afford to lose one more game. And even then, losing one more game is a bit risky. So he kind of needs to win all of his games, because 8-6, Josh might end up 7-7. I mean, Josh is 6-4 right now, but his end of the season is pretty tough. And Croc, his really only difficult game is last week against MNES. And if he puts himself in a position to be 7-6 and Josh is 6-7, he can maybe afford to lose that game to MNES, but it's going to come down to differential and stuff. So I'm very excited. Looking at the end of the season, I think Croc has a better chance than Josh to make playoffs. Josh has to clutch it up in these last couple weeks, but if Josh beats Chase and then wins one more game, I mean, it's just over. I mean, even if he beats Chase, Croc's chances are pretty low. But if Chase is to beat Josh, Croc's chances go up a lot. So we'll see. But that's going to be the video for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. Again, I will be in the Carolinas for the next week and a half. So, if you watch my battles at all, I'll probably have to post-com them when I get back home, because I'm not going to use Preston setup to fucking record my Pokemon games. I'll probably just play them on my phone or something, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'll probably just play on my phone. It's not that big of a deal, but anyway, yeah, anyway, that will be the video. Playoffs coming up, end of season, award show, all that fun stuff. I'm looking forward to it. No, I'm gonna be down in the south, so it's gonna be tough to not be with the belt for a bit, but I think we can manage it. And yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. El bozo if mad. Goodbye.